Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of, I just clicked on a button there, Zoom, isn't it fun? A Conversation With, and my name is Jefferson Denim, and I'm one of your co-hosts.
And my name is Fernando, and I'm the other co-host.
And we are so excited because today, our very special guest is Samantha Garcia. Samantha!
Hello!
Woo! Samantha, what's your middle name?
My middle name is Jessica.
Okay, so Samantha Jessica Garcia. And what pronouns do you prefer, my dear?
I prefer she, her, and hers.
All right, thank you for that. We always want to be respectful of that. So if you've watched any of our episodes previously, you know that Fernando and I are big believers in the idea that our life experiences certainly influence and inform our art. Actually, more than just our art, every aspect of our being, really. So we're fascinated by life journeys, and I'm so excited we get to unpack Sam's life journey. So Sam, our conversation today will be divided up into three parts, three acts. So act one will be from your birth through middle school, okay? Act two will be middle school through college, including grad school. And then act three will be your performance ensemble experience. And then we'll probably do an addendum to see where are you now since you've graduated from grad school. Does that all sound groovy?
Beautiful.
Awesome, so let's get started. All right, so act one, where and when were you born?
So I was born on December 19th, 1993 at the hour of 12:55 p.m.
Wow.
in the lovely Kaiser Permanente in Panorama City in the Valley.
Okay, Panorama City in the Valley. How do you know these details? How come you know the exact minute you were born?
Only because I'm an astrology nerd, and any person that's an astrology nerd knows their birth time and place because that all gets incorporated into your chart.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And does it have anything to do with the fact that you're an only child?
Probably I had to really entertain myself and explore the inner and outer worlds.
Okay, so now we know when to the minute you were born. Now, okay, Panorama City. Now, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Panorama City?
No, it's actually really funny because I live in the Valley now, but I grew up in Lancaster, California.
Beautiful Lancaster.
Beautiful Lancaster. It's totally home. My parents still live there, but I went through all my schooling and up till community college out there.
Okay, as you can hear, the train is going by, so wait.
Oh yeah, I live behind the train station.
Every once in a while, I'll just do this. So I want to... So how did you get from Panorama City to out where you grew up?
I think it's because when my mom was pregnant with me, she was living closer to here, more like Canyon Country with my dad. Or they could have been already living in Lancaster, but there was no hospital out there. Like there was no Kaiser, like there was no insurance covered, place out there. So the closest one was Panorama City. And now I ended up full circle back living in the Valley after being born there.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So your family still lives out where you grew up. Who were your parents?
My parents are Trixie and Eric Garcia, and they're from the Philippines. And they've been living out here for a bit longer than I've been alive.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom was basically she was working on Catalina Island as a receptionist, and she met my dad over there, actually, not even in the Philippines. Like she met my dad when she was already working here, and then we ended up just going more into the lands of California, and then I came.
Now, do you go back to the Philippines at all? Do you have any big families back there?
I am like the only one of all of my first cousins, basically, like the only one like in the States. So like my immediate family is really all mostly over there. So I miss them a lot.
So, but you go back and see them then, do you?
I've seen them, like, I've been there about like maybe 6 times throughout my life. And they come visit sometimes too, but it's not as often these days. And I definitely can't see them now.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now what is your relationship? This is always can be tricky when you talk about artists, because some folks have great relationships with their parents, some not so great. So what is your relationship and is your relationship like with your parents?
With my parents? Oh man, like the artist rebellion, like teenager, like crazy, like, and I was like an only child, so I had all the attention on me, so it was rough as I was growing and developing. More so with my mom. It's kind of like that mother-daughter thing. Like there's nothing like it. And it's really intense. So growing up, it was kind of rough, just growing up in a different way. Like I'm growing up in America, they grew up in the Philippines, so I want different things that their tradition allows to a certain extent, your upbringing. But now we're just best friends. We're just so close. I share my hopes and dreams with them, and I'm really grateful for the way I was brought up, actually.
So when was this breakthrough then? Because it sounds like, and a lot of people, it's from Fernando and I, when we've had our discussions with other guests, sometimes, especially if you come from a different country, there's an expectation like, don't you blow it, man. Here we are in America. I want you to shine. And you might be like, hey, I just want to be myself. And what's all this pressure? Did you feel, was it that kind of pressure?
Absolutely not. So the one thing that was always amazing about my parents and my upbringing that I still appreciate is they always wanted me to go after my passion. They always wanted me to go after all my dreams and passions and my artistic endeavors, like dance and music and all those fun things. And it's just, there were different like bumps in the road, and like, it was never I think the tension was never about really like my future and what I wanted to be. It was more of like a internal like thing,
Internal thing. No, I don't know. You got to unpack that. What does that mean?
So it's more of like probably like a mental state, like the way we both grew up just kind of like, clashed a little bit, but not in the way where they were trying to hold me back from my passions. I didn't give my passions enough attention back then either.
Gotcha. And do you think that because you came from different, yes, Fernando, sorry.
No, ask your question. I think we're going to ask the same thing.
You think so? Okay, well, let's see, but keep that handy.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to you because I'm tired of hearing my voice. You go ahead. I'm gonna drink my. Here's our new sponsor, Angry Apple Hard Cider.
Crisp apple.
Mm.
Now I was gonna ask because when you were talking about it being an internal thing, was it like obviously your parents weren't pressuring you to do things the way that they wanted to, like that like typical, child of an immigrant thing that a lot of people experience, but was it also you were putting those expectations on yourself? Like the two things like, oh, they came here, I have to do this, even though they never told you or did anything. Were you the one telling yourself those things?
You know what? It's actually none of it. It's actually just I wanted to freaking experience life so early. Like I wanted to get a job. I wanted to, drive. I wanted to party. I wanted to do all this. I was so young. And I'm like an only girl and an only child. And they were just strict when I was growing up. I just was not allowed to do things. So it was a lot of, and you guys know how much energy I have. I've always had this energy. So imagine that just like having to stay inside every day and just, but they had like good reason for the, like, why they didn't let me do some things, and I appreciate it now, but that is why it was so hard. That's why our relationship was so tough, because I was just like a little caged bird.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Hey, so
I know.
now you had said you want to experience life to the full. That's certainly what we know. Fernando and I know that about you, and anybody that knows you would
Yeah,
say. Now, so when you were young, would you say you're an old soul?
absolutely.
So
100%.
yeah, so that's why maybe you were ready for more things than your parents were recognizing you were able to
That's a
handle,
really good way to put it, Jeff. Yeah.
I think. So because you are an old soul, did you have any inkling, and it also sounds like you were doing all kinds of things as a kid. You mentioned dance and whatnot. What did you think you would be when you grew up?
You know, I was like always a dreamer, like a daydreamer. So I always saw like my biggest dreams as like, you know, they'll always be a dream. But what I really want to be when I grow up, I have no idea. I always had this attitude of I had no idea, but I always wanted to be, ever since I was just like a child, just a singer.
Got
You
it.
know that, Jeff?
I do know that. So, but that's what, even as a young child, you thought, I see myself as a vocalist, as a singer. That's how you saw your art kind of manifest in your imagination.
Absolutely. And I had no idea though that all these other like artistic things that I'm into would be so fulfilling and make me so happy. But no matter what I do, it's always music in any way that, you know, comes back to the forefront. It's like, hey, don't forget about me. Hello.
Well, you know what I love about what you just said, and for our audience, I think that if you have any artistic tendencies at all, sometimes you can be trapped in thinking, okay, I've always thought myself, I'm going to borrow your example, Sam,
Mhm.
I'm going to be a singer. But art and creativity is not contained by one manifestation. And as you said, you found different manifestations of your artistic tendencies. And when they come to the fore, would you say it's healthy just to kind of let art almost guide you versus the dictates of what the only way you thought of it when you were younger?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I realize that now when I feel that artistic, that flow, you know, when you just get a rush of creativity, I let it move me now, you know, I let it out. Before I would, you know, put it on a shelf or like be like, okay, later, like that's for later, that's for dessert, whatever, you know. But like when I really just like tune in and have like this time to myself, especially during this time, I'm really trying to allow that part of me to just kind of be the driving force of my actions so that, you know, I can be as fulfilled as I want to be.
I think that's wonderful. It seems to me that, you know, creativity is beyond our imagination sometimes. We think of it one way and then it reveals itself in ways we didn't even think of before. So before we leave your growing up years, and
Oh yeah.
so before we do that, I wanted to ask, is there any stories that you can think of that kind of like is a great illustration of who you were as a child?
Ooh, let me try and flip through the archives really quick.
Like you trying to borrow the car when you were 10, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true, but go ahead.
To chug his beer while you think.
Okay.
You know, when I'm waiting for Sam to answer one of my questions, I love to chug Angry Orchard hard cider.
I'm like having like electric impulses like in my brain just.
You can pass on this, by the way, if nothing comes to mind.
Can we come back to it?
Sure.
I'm an overthinker. I want it to be good.
Okay, so you went to school out in Lancaster.
Good old Lancaster, yeah.
Good old Lancaster, California. Can you tell me the schools you went to? Elementary school, junior high, and high school.
Yeah. My elementary school was called Lincoln Elementary. It was cool. Our mascot was the Lynx, the cat. We were the Lincoln Lynx.
Oh, okay. That took a turn. I wasn't expecting that. I'm expecting old Honest Dave and Lynx the cat. Okay,
I know, right? And then I went to this other school in Lancaster on the other side of town called Amargosa Creek Middle School, the Cougars, Amargosa Creek Cougars. And
you said the other side of town, if I may pause you for a second.
Yeah,
Sometimes that means, was there discrepancies of segments of population in Lancaster, like in different towns?
Yeah, there's like east side and the west side. And then you go to Palmdale, and then there's the East Palmdale and West Palmdale.
So was it when you went from elementary school to middle school, was that going to the good side of the tracks or the
Going
not
to
so
the
good?
good side, yeah. I was on
Okay.
the worst side of the tracks before, and then
Okay.
Going to middle school, we were on the nicer part of town.
Okay, so then you were in middle school,
Yes.
and you're the Cougars. No, what are you, the Cougars in
Cougars,
middle school?
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Everyone goes to Cougars.
okay.
And then we said high school, right?
Yes, and high school is
High school is Lancaster High School.
Lancaster High School, not Palmdale, but Lancaster. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you like school?
You know, it was always, it was fun because I was an only child, and that was where I saw my friends. I think the work, like growing up at least, just came easy to me. So I didn't, but I wasn't like in love with learning yet. But it wasn't not like super fun for me.
Okay, so it was tolerable.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get the work done, get that out of the way so I can go hang with my friends kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, let me copy your paper so that I can hang out with my friends.
Okay, any teachers from those days, don't listen to this. Nobody was copying anything.
Oh, and my former students don't listen.
Exactly. So when you got to middle school, now this is something we found to be kind of a common theme, and it was certainly true for me, and I think for Fernando too. When you got to middle school, was that especially challenging for you or not?
Not really. Challenging.
Well, what I mean by that is there's so many, like, it's such a crucible, if you will, of growing pains. It can be.
Oh yeah, like emotionally too, like middle school, like emotionally it was you're so insecure. And I was like, I don't know, I was so awkwardly like, I don't know, just trying to be cool.
Okay, give me an example of that. What do you mean?
I don't know, just, it was like, you know, typical like middle school girl, like, you know, there's cliques now. You can see the cool kids and, you know, the active kids and the smart kids, and I don't know, I just like felt like when I look back, I've been looking back a lot and thinking a lot about like the way I grew up and the way school was and how I was, and I feel like it was just like with every step and every word you say during those years, you're just finding your way to what you're eventually going to be. So it's kind of a blur if I think about it. But
so not especially painful, not especially anything, just like it was a blur.
yeah, just like a little bit. I just remember like just wanting, I don't know, it always comes back to the only child thing. I just wanted to be surrounded by friends all the time.
Got it. Now I know Fernando had a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask, at any point did you want to leave your town? Did you suffer from small town complex?
Inside joke, everyone.
Well, now you're letting us all in on the inside joke. So yes, answer his question. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. Should we explain?
Yeah, you go ahead and explain it.
Okay. Well, me and Fernando, I forgot a huge part of my upbringing and his as well is the music that we would listen to, and it would be a lot of like sad punk rock, like. So he asks me if I've ever wanted to leave my town growing up, because all the songs that we would listen to always talk about leaving their dead-end town and exploring. It kind of does sound like it though, like saying like, I just want to be free.
All right. Well, I think that's such a common feeling, isn't it? I mean, there's got to be more out there.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get to high school then. So you segue into Lancaster High School.
High school's fun.
And high school, what is your mascot for the high school?
Eagles.
Okay. I thought so. So the Lancaster Eagles, my dear.
Yes.
When you were in high school, where do you feel like, so it could be anywhere, this does not have to pertain specifically to high school, but where do you feel like your identity started to gel? Like, oh, this is really, the core of me was now really kind of coming to be. Was it in high school, would you say?
You know, I think it might have been, because in high school, especially towards more the end of high school, like junior, senior year, I was getting really involved in things like show choir, and I was in a musical, and we did competitions in show choir. I was on the dance team. I was just like, I was able to like have my thing going and just focus on that. And outside of school too, I was also dancing and learning to play guitar at that point.
Nice.
So that's when I was like, I don't think I really realized that like, oh, this is kind of like the identity that flows with me, like this like art, art savvy, like musical person. So it was just kind of so natural that I didn't even notice it.
So it was starting to happen, and you weren't necessarily identifying it per se, but it was certainly how you would describe yourself, right? Like, this is who I am.
Exactly. And then I think it was just around the time that like I had to think about college, and I had to think about what I was going to be to secure my future. Then I couldn't pay as much attention to that part of me,
That's an interesting thing that you just said. Do you feel like at that juncture you were, I'm not trying to put too much judgmentalism on this question.
Oh, no, you're good.
Did you feel like you had to kind of, oh, that's for play, that's not serious stuff, I got to get serious, so I'm going to put all that up on a shelf, and that was fun, but I got to grow up now and get serious? Did you
Absolutely.
think that's what was happening?
Absolutely. I was like, there's no way I'm talented enough to make that my living. There's no way I can turn that into something more than a pipe dream. Like, it was really like that. But nobody made me feel that way but me. Like, my parents were supportive, but I didn't know if I could do it. Like, I didn't believe in myself.
Do you feel like that's look at that? Because I would have thought, and Fernando, what do you think about this? I would have thought that if you have parents who are hypercritical, you would inherit that critical voice, and
Right.
then that would start to keep you from doing things. But is this right? You were critical of yourself.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe the voices came from the dance studio and kids at school, like, and I feel like if they weren't coming from my parents, because my parents were so confused as to why I was so distraught, and they were just like, dude, like, what's wrong? Like, but I think it's because of like, I was with them, just them, up until a certain point, and then I get to hear all these voices, all these critics, and I didn't tell my parents about them. We didn't just chat about that, so I got to internalize them and believe the stories that they told me, and it kind of just grew within myself. I'm just now learning to kind of face.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Like, there's so many, negativity can come at us from so many ways. And I was reading an article by a psychologist saying something like this, that, when you can finally say, I don't have to be friends with toxic people.
Yes.
I can let them go, and I can actively seek out those that are going to be affirming and build up my soul. And
where I am right now, for sure.
Right. And it takes a minute to get to that, because you think, no, I have to be, I got to let in the negative as if they might know something about me I don't know, and which leads to, like you second guessing yourself, not confident about your own voice. And it sounds like you're kind of, this was the beginning, or in high school, this is when all those other voices were kind of taking control and they were louder than your own internal voice, would you say?
I think it like towards the end of high school, and even like, I feel like past relationships, like, when you're young and you're dating people and you're in relationships and you guys think you know what you're doing, but really you're kind of scarring each other emotionally. Like, that, feel like that, so many things when you're young, you just don't know that it's going to affect your whole perspective of yourself and your image of yourself. And that's the one thing that's going to hold you back from living your dream,
Boy, well said. You brought it up. So now I'm going to go there, and you can say pass if you want. All right. So do you remember, Sam?
What?
Samantha, Jessica?
Jeff, what the heck are you going to ask me?
Do you remember when you first fell in love?
Oh my God. Let me think. I have to. I'm like a Disney girl. I grew up like crying over boys, like all that. Like when I first fell in love, I'm like, shoot, it's hard because it's almost like, did I know what love was?
Well, let's not go that deep. Just when you felt that strong, like I
think
I got the feels for you.
This is gonna be so silly, but in the 6th grade,
Okay.
like 11, and I had a crush on this boy, and MySpace was still a thing, like before all the Instagram and the Facebook, and I don't know, he left me a comment, like we became boyfriend and girlfriend somehow, like he had a friend ask me for him to be his girlfriend. And then I came home to comments on my MySpace that said I love you, and from him, and I didn't know what that was, and I started crying.
Wow.
That was really long ago.
Well, but wow, but I think because when you're young, everything is so heightened in that first love, man.
That first just met, like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, you've never felt anything close to it.
Right.
You know?
Do you remember your first kiss?
Oh God, yeah. It was. Do you want to hear about that?
Yes, I do.
I'm like this podcast. This podcast. Okay. It's actually really funny. I was in 7th grade, and I went to
So you outgrew the MySpace guy. That's old news.
He dumped me.
Oh no.
Okay, so now we're in 7th grade. He sent me
a message. He was like, I don't think we're dating anymore.
How long did that last?
I remember this.
How long was that?
Freaking like the summer after 6th grade, I think.
The whole summer?
And I think like half of it or something. I don't know, but when I came back to school, we were not together. He had like a new girlfriend or something, and I was so jealous. But I had my first kiss in 7th grade.
Okay, so now he's dumped you, but you've moved on to better things. So now you're in 7th grade.
I'm in 7th grade, and you know how they put on like a fair, like Orange County Fair, Antelope Valley Fair, like we had the fair, and then it had like, the ride zipper, it like flips you around and you're just going, it's horrifying, I hate it. But I went on with this guy that I used to flirt with in my classes, like in the 7th grade, and we got on it's like 2 people in a pod, and we were getting on the ride together, and as it was rising and we're about to be flipped 360 degrees at many miles per hour, he just looks at me and he kisses me, and that was my first kiss ever. And then I'm just in terror the rest of the time.
Oh my God, what an association.
Yeah.
That is, you're not going to have a great makeout session in the zipper.
Oh God, too young too, ew.
Do you believe, I'll get off this topic in a second, but do you believe in love at first sight? Do you think that's a thing?
Yes.
I wonder why.
Fernando knows why.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. I'm assuming that's not middle school.
I now do.
Okay, now you do. Out of the relationships that you had, let's just stick with high school. I'm sure that there's others that this can apply to, but what lessons do you feel like you've learned from those relationships?
Probably everything. Honestly, I've always been in a relationship, and it's just a huge part of like my being, and with each one you just learn, you kind of see yourself in the reflection, and the bad parts of yourself that you hate and the good parts of yourself that you love. And I just, like, after all of that and where I am now, I feel like I've learned that you can't forget about yourself and like who you are, because it's really easy to get lost in a relationship and who you're with. It's hard not to almost become them and forget about, number one. So Adolescence, yeah.
That's profound, I think. So important. Wow. All right. Well, then listen. So here you are nearing the end of being in high school. And how did you always think you were going to be going to college, or how did you know that you were going to go, and what took you to Antelope Valley College, right? Is where you started.
Yeah. So in high school, I was actually each year, like all the 4 years, I was in a college prep program called AVID. And so each trimester or semester, whatever we had, we had a whole class, kind of like a homeroom dedicated to, like filling out resumes and like trying to get to a 4-year university no matter what type of thing, but like straight out of high school. So I didn't meet the expectation, but I don't know, I really did want to go out and like do the whole college experience, but it wasn't the most affordable choice. So I ended up staying at community college, but I'm so glad I did. My life would, if I just went to CSUN right away, I wouldn't know you guys,
I love this because Fernando and I, we've talked about this on different episodes too. He and I are both community college guys. That's where we started too.
Yes, I went 3 years.
And so did I, and yes. Fernando too.
Oh my God, twins.
But right, so triplets. So yeah. because of your experience, I don't want to speak for Fernando or I, but why do you, it sounds like you would, why did you appreciate that as the first place to go?
Because I didn't know what the heck I wanted. Like I thought I wanted to be a psychology major, I switched my major like 3 times, and so glad I didn't just go straight to university and do that, So I stuck with my major the whole time. Actually, yeah, when I went to university, I just stuck with it the whole time because I fell in love with the communication studies class at my community college. Really
how did that happen? How did you land, like you said, you started out psychology, and this is what I love about community college, trying on things, and it's not going to cost an arm and a leg.
Oh my goodness, it's right? So accessible, and you can learn whatever you want.
So how did you decide that communications, that's the fit for me?
Well, I went from, so I actually started, like, my parents like were helping me suggest, like, you should have business 101 under your belt. So I started majoring in business admin, and I took accounting, and I was like, I can't do this. I physically can't do this. I have to switch my major. I can't do accounting. And I went to psychology because I thought that would be more interesting, and I thought I liked, to talk about people's feelings and stuff. And I was like, okay. But then I took a public speaking class and an interpersonal communication class at my community. And it was just so, I fell in love because I was like, this is so human. Like, this is so cool. Like, I don't feel a lot of pressure. Not saying it was just like, the easiest thing ever. It was just, I was like, this is a vibe. Like, I like communication studies, So that's.
Yeah. So you could just feel like it was a fit. So then, okay, so you're getting out of, did you get your AA degree in communications, or what did you?
No, I didn't. I just got a transfer degree. So
got it.
I just fulfilled all my requirements and went there.
So now, okay, so there you are in Lancaster. What made you decide to go to Northridge?
Funny story, actually. When I was going to community college and falling in love with these communications classes, that still wasn't my plan to study that. I was planning on going to Vegas and going to a massage therapy school just so, because I heard they make money. So I was like, I'm just gonna go do that and like train for that, and I can live cheap, whatever. And then I was hanging out with my boyfriend at the time, and he went to CSUN. He had just graduated from CSUN, and he was like, why do you want to go to massage therapy school? He just was just like, that's so weirdly not you. Like, he was just wondering, he was like, can I see your grades? Like, what are your grades like? And then I showed him my grades, and he was like, what are you doing? Go to college. Like, you could get in, He was like, go. And I kind of like, we talked about it, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, he convinced me of like, and he didn't even like college very much. He didn't even like, CSUN very much, but I don't know. I just think it was super, like, that had to happen. Like, I had to, I had to go to CSUN.
I love it. I love that you were with someone that said, now, wait a second, you have more potential in you than you are realizing you have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to Northridge, and so not only do you undergrad there, but you do your graduate school. So first tell me about what was it like as an undergrad, and then what made you decide to go on and get a grad degree?
Oh my goodness.
And what you did in between both.
What?
And what you did in between both.
What I did
Okay.
between both?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so you said what made me, how was undergrad, right? And what made
Yeah,
me
how was it when you got to Northridge? How did you like it? How did you like Northridge as an undergrad?
I loved it. I loved my freedom. I loved it was just like so new to me, just being able to just be in this town away from home and just experience college. Like, I wasn't so much into the work, at all, but there's a gym there. It was just like so much fun for me. It was like a playground. I loved it, and I made so many friends, and I was but it was stressful in the beginning because I was, looking for a job. My my living situation was insane. I lived right off of campus in a studio apartment. I live in one right now, but it's just me and one other person. But when I moved out here in that studio, it was 4 girls and 2 dogs in a box. And so I did that for a little bit, finally found a better place. But, I was working at Yogurtland, just doing the working student thing. And it was just so awesome. I enjoy like moving around and growing and working, and it was a good time.
Okay, so then you made it, you got your degree, and you thought, all right, now I got my ticket to life. And what happened? So I take it Fernando knows something I don't know. So what happened then between there and then finally grad school?
So from there, so I don't know, when I was an undergrad, I was very mesmerized by my professors. Like, I don't know if you know Fernando, Michelle Mega, or who else? I had Professor Delarkin. I just had awesome comms, these awesome women who were just so passionate about what they were teaching. And it just all those little sparks, it lit something up in me, and I was like, I kind of really, really, really want to be that. And one day I was, I had graduated, and I was just counting my cash at the register at Yogurtland. And just like this, I just had it felt like just an inspiration, a divine message, just like, you need to go to grad school and become a teacher. And I stopped counting the money, and I I ran to the back of the store, and I called my parents, and I was like, oh guys, I think I want to go to grad school, and I think I need to do that because I want to be a teacher. I want to teach communication. So I was so just in this weird motivated headspace to do that. And then from there I was like, okay, what do I have to do to get there?
Wow, wonderful. And so, all right, so now you're in grad school,
Yes.
right? And did you meet Fernando right away when you first started?
No, did we meet right away, or no? Because I met the TAs first,
Yeah.
and then, but I've always seen Fernando.
That's the thing that I think, because I wasn't a TA the first year, so we weren't because I guess you guys did that 2 weeks before school started, or a couple of weeks before.
Mm-hmm, the TA training.
Yeah, so I wasn't a part of that, but during the what was it called? Orientation.
You saw me.
I saw you because I already had a friend in the program.
Bree.
Yeah, and when
My only friend too.
I was latching on to Bree because she was the only person that I knew, and then
Shout out Bree if you're watching this.
Yeah, Bray.
Yeah, and she was with Sam, and they just looked inseparable, and I'm like, oh, I guess
I just met her. We were
I didn't know that though. I was like, oh, cool. One of her closest friends showed up to the same program.
Yeah.
And then Sam was all like, or no, Bree was all like, no, we just met a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, what?
Well, you're not childhood best friend neighbors.
Yeah.
See, but you guys are soulmates anyway. I mean, and
Soulmates.
that's how I felt, by the way, if I may interject, when I met all y'all. I just
Oh
felt
my
like this
gosh,
amazing connection.
We are soulmates, Jeff.
I agree. So, okay, so you find now you're a TA right off the bat. So you're
Yes.
you're putting on your teacher hat.
Yeah.
And and so you're ensconced in grad school and teaching. Now, how did you get then to, and I'm going to segue awkwardly to Act 3. How did you discover or become aware of Performance Ensemble?
Oh, Performance Ensemble. How did I become aware of Performance Ensemble? Did you tell me about it?
Yeah, I think.
Jade. No, Jade. She talked to our research class, Com 601.
This was your first year, right? Your first year.
At grad
You're ending at grad school.
Yes, ending my first year in grad school. Because I only did it my second year,
Yes.
Okay. So Jade came in to guest speak and do just some, guest exercises. She was like kind of like a new face, like I hadn't seen before. And I thought she was really cool. No talk about Performance Ensemble, whatever. And someone told me, they were like, oh, that's going to be the director. And I was like, that's cool. I want to look into that and join that or something. Cause I really liked Jade's energy. And I was like, I'm going to check that out. And I was like, wait, this is right up my alley. Like, why have I not been doing this since?
Well, that's the thing, right? It's been around. And Fernando, you were doing it that first.
Fernando was doing it for like a million years.
Yeah, he was doing it before. And so, but the fact that you've heard about this, saw Jade, and that's why I just thought that the heavens and the stars must have aligned and said, Samantha, this is for you. Right? You felt that.
For you, universe, yes.
So you didn't have any qualms about saying, okay, I guess I'm still teaching, because you were, and now I'm going to give up one of those classes, though, and I'm going to be a TA for a Performance Ensemble, right?
Yeah.
All right, so when you signed on for it.
That really, you just made some things click in my head, but please go on.
I'm here to serve you.
No, yeah.
So now you had an inkling that this is going to be a great alignment for you. But did you really know what you were getting yourself into?
No.
So first day, when you first got into it, what did you think of it at first?
It definitely felt like home already, just because it's a performance room. I'm just like, oh my gosh, everyone's like, we're already getting creative. Like, I was like, this is great. It felt like home. What I mean by I didn't know what I was getting myself into was I didn't know that I would gain such a family. Like, I didn't know we'd be so close, and I didn't know it'd be so fulfilling. I knew, like, definitely, like, I was like, maybe I can take some leadership roles on this. I like to perform. I was like, whatever. But the family, like, there was nothing like that. That energy from others that I just was so trusting, so loving, like, I don't know.
No, and you were a leader, if I may say. You were a fabulous leader, taking a leadership role. Did you feel like, because we had talked a little bit earlier, how like you were leaving high school, so you put all your creative stuff up on the shelf. Did this feel kind of like a completing the circle kind of thing, where I can have my education and this too, right? That's
what you made click in my brain 5 minutes ago, was that. And like the way where you worded it to, like, I gave up a class. I gave up a teaching class, thinking, I'm like, that's my life, to aid in performance. But I'm like, that, that's what kept me going. I feel like performance, that kept me alive. Like at the end of grad school, you're burnt, you're ready to stop, but performance kind of like kept it going. And it was really subconscious. I didn't realize I was completing the circle.
How has, I'm going to ask this question with two parts, I guess. Has PE, Performance Ensemble, changed the way you view yourself or society or life? And if it has, how has it?
So I think maybe not so much changed a lot of these things, because I feel like the core values and principles of performance ensemble have always aligned with how how my soul is. And but I'm always learning, and what I really learned from performance ensemble is that openness is really key, and connection with others that share your passions and that are there to support you, like no matter what. Those are the things that you need to nurture in life in order to be happy. Like, I know it's not it's about performance ensemble, but I guess performance ensemble to me is just, it's so much more than a class and and projects. Like, it was just, I can't describe it in like little terms. I don't know.
Because you just said you can't describe it, I'm going to make you. So what would you say? Wait, hold on. So what would you say? And Fernando and I like to ask this question. I think you'll see what I mean when I ask it. But so there are people watching this show who might be interested in thinking about performance ensemble and what is this performance ensemble thing? It sounds a little intimidating. I don't know if I haven't done theater, let's say, since middle school or high school, and now I'm in college, and should I indulge myself in PE? What would you say to somebody who's maybe on the fence, maybe thinking about it, but not quite sure? What would you say to kind of convince them that this is something you should try, if you think that way, if you feel that way?
Yes, I would say that if you have any, like we were talking about, creative tendencies or a creative itch, and you are, overcome with the stress of school and, formalities and all of these outside things, and you want to express creatively in a way that's completely your own and in tandem with others and making connections with others, while you get to make a change in the world around you, and, maybe opening people's minds and hearts, like, sounds like a pretty good deal,
Right. Fernando, did you have...
I could go on for days. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. Fernando, you have something you want to ask.
Yeah, I have it's like kind of related to a PE show, but I'm asking because it goes back to what JD was saying. So during your first show, like both of you had your first semester with PE together, right? Because we both joined the same semester.
Yes, we did. Our little family.
I love that.
And for anybody listening, like our ensemble's typically like 15 to 20 people. This semester we had 9. It was just 9 of us. And
was it 7? It was 9?
I think it was 9. Might have been, yeah, I think it was.
Might have been 7. Maybe. Anyway, sorry.
9, right? Like it was under 10 basically. But it was sort of going back to being comfortable with sharing who you are and all that stuff, because people that know you know that you can sing and you sing well, right? Like you're good at what you do. And in that performance, you decided to sing, which is something that people don't typically associate with performance art, right? And I think I just wanted to ask you about your process, because obviously when I saw you working, I saw you going manic, like you were freaking out a lot, like you just seemed stressed out, or you seemed like kind of nervous to do what you were doing, or I don't know, but like I wanted to know that's what it was like for me, right? Like looking at it from the outside in. But what was the process like for you to decide, hey, I'm gonna sing a song, this is basically gonna be the one of the final pieces of the entire show? Like what was that process like? How did you come up with that? And how did you figure out your piece?
So weirdly enough, I do remember being manic, yes, because I kind of just, once we got the theme, I don't know, kind of just like, how earlier I told you about that message that came to me, it was like, you need to go to grad school and like be a teacher. Well, in this case, we were talking, with all the topics we were talking about, I think, especially after talking about like my childhood right now, my muscle memory, my music muscle memory just went straight to what it's comfortable to. I basically made a show choir piece, I realized, because I just naturally, when I create a piece for the stage, it just goes, because I've choreographed a lot in high school and and even after. So in community college, I was in dance, but just kind of like, sorry, I'm just like banging everything around. I just like went to what was most natural, and I found like that song just popped up, and I was like, I love this song. Like I grew up with this song, and it totally like matches. I'm gonna try to do it justice, and I don't know, the choreography, like this is how the choreography came to be. It just image just downloaded into my brain, and then I was just like, okay, I gotta write it out and then teach everybody how to do it. But I think it was easy to just come up with it all, but then when it came to managing it, I was just so nervous because it was something I created, you know?
Yeah.
Like I get really, that's why when it comes to like singing and like art and like things that mean a lot to me, I get very scared to like for it to, you know, I don't want it to fail or something.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was, and I think that you two might agree too, I don't know, but like the thing about having a family, right? Like that's what it was. It was just working with family, is that whether or not you feel like you're doing your sort like your position as an assistant director, because that's what you were, right? Like you were an assistant director, but you're also directing your own piece. You feel like you may not be doing it justice, but everybody was just like backing you up and doing whatever it is that you said. And I mean, like, man, we know like we had to stay after school like till 10 p.m. sometimes rehearsing like
11, dude, like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but
on another level.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, that you have people backing you up. But I think that was interesting that I think that when you were performing, you were so confident, but when it came to directing, I think that's where your sort of like mania came in. It's like, oh, I don't even know if you remember this, but you'll like come up to me and say, it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, are they listening to me? Does this make sense? And I was like, dude, chill. Like, everything's fine.
Oh my gosh, it's like I blacked out on that, but actually it's coming back. I think I remember asking, like, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being demanding, and I wanted to make sure I could be clear that like people, like I didn't want to sound like I didn't know what I was saying. So I would go to the person I'm most comfortable with, Fernando. I would go to him and be like, okay, can you validate my manic assumptions right now, please? Can you, you know, just crazy. But I could see that, and I think that comes from like just caring so much about the people in like, and also just being, I'm so grateful that everybody like was so about it and backing me up so much and wanted it to, and like even putting, my favorite part is when people put their own like style into it, like do your thing.
What I love about it, I'm just going to piggyback on what you guys are saying. What I loved about your piece, Sam, and actually the whole experience in general, was that, yeah, everybody was, whoever's turn it was to direct, everyone gave it their all, I felt. And what I love about what, Sam, your story and your journey and the way that you had Fernando to lean on and say, hey, how's this seeming to you? You had a breakthrough. And that's one of the things that Performance Ensemble seems to do, is that it gives you the sense of comfort because you've got a team around you, but you still got to show up. And sometimes you got to confront some things that are maybe down deep. And so any of those
feeling to do.
Right. And so any of those old voices that would say, what are you trying to do? Dance and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what some of those were for you, but to show up and say, I'm going to incorporate this dance, God damn it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to incorporate my singing. God damn it. And so, and like Fernando said, these were two things that just weren't done normally. And you're saying, well, I'm going to do them anyway. And it always feels a little scary when you step out like that. And, but I think it's just profound.
I felt like there was no other way. It's just how I was wired, you know, just because, yeah, like it was a show choir piece in a performance ensemble. And I didn't even think about it.
And it fit perfectly because it was emanating from within you. It really, I mean, I can't imagine the show without it. It was such a high point. I mean, like Fernando was saying, and this is sort of like the here we go. This is the showstopper at the end kind of thing. So, wow, it was just so fun.
It was super dramatic, I think.
So fun to do it with all of you.
Oh, such a great thing. What do you, so now let's just do a little bit of epilogue. Here you are, you graduated you got your big piece of paper so you can waltz in.
Big piece of paper.
So you can waltz in and make all kinds of stupid money.
Where's my latte?
So now that you're on this side of grad school, and it sounds like, and I shouldn't even say it this way, I know you like to embrace learning and new experiences and wherever that's going to lead. So what do you think you might be doing? It's hard to say. What do you think you might be doing in like 5 years?
In 5 years, shoot, honestly, hopefully exploring as much as I can my inner place and my place in the world. And to be more specific and, to go with this theme of this talk, really, I really, at least at some point in my life, want to end up at music school just to, get that language in me, get that. I want to be able to create my optimal creations with that
Right.
language,
That's beautiful. Do you have, when you look back now, I don't know, do you have any regrets when you look back?
I can't. No way. I can't regret a single thing in my life. I wouldn't be this person that I've learned to love so much. Just really, you guys caught me at like peak time, really.
Beautiful. So that's an important life lesson, you would say, learning how to love yourself so that it can take you wherever, right?
Anybody that's listening, please, that is number one. Like, and it goes deeper than you think. It's harder than you think. Do the work.
That's fabulous. All right. So as we're wrapping up, I wanted to segue into what we call the big three. So we're going to ask you a couple of things. And if you've found something great. And if you want to pass on any of these, that's great too. So here we go. Here's the big three. A favorite joke, a favorite quote, and a favorite song. And if you can't pick just one song, 2 or 3. So let's go back. Okay.
I got it written down right here.
Yeah, you've done your homework.
Okay. I wanted to come prepared.
You went to grad school. Okay.
I cited my sources. I actually didn't. This is all plagiarism.
Okay, well, but you're honest about it, so you confessed. All right, so let's start with number 1. Can you tell us a joke that you just think is funny, or a story that you think is funny?
I can tell you a joke that is really silly.
Silly is good.
What do you call a fake noodle?
What do you call a fake noodle, Fernando?
I actually don't know.
I feel like I might have got this from Lindsay, honestly.
Okay, so what do you call a fake noodle?
An impasta.
Yes. I'm going to use that one. I like that one.
You can. That one's plagiarized. The quote is cited, actually.
All right, so here we go. So what quote would you like to share with us today?
I want to share this quote by Rumi, the poet. The wound is the place where the light enters you. I'm sure you've maybe heard that before. But
Oh, that's beautiful. Could you say it one more time just because I want to soak in it?
Oh, yes. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Very important.
Wow, beautiful.
That one's like pretty life-changing too. It really perspective changing. I love it so much.
Why? What's the perspective change for you?
So like when we think about like our wounds and the things that have hurt us, when we start thinking of those dark places as doorways for light to come through, you just heal, and life becomes more beautiful. Like when you do, and you can heal that way. That's like how to heal, is letting those tough lessons teach you something.
Oh, so could you say then that light could not get in any other way?
No, I wouldn't. I would say it's, shoot, you know what? Maybe I can rewind. Actually, I think so, because if you think about, like when we become like, we all go through our cycles and we can all become jaded and ungrateful, like, and for like, you know, random things. We all have our own privilege in some kind of way. And it's those places that have been lit up for you and illuminated your whole life that, you know, there might be shadows hiding there, and only if you place darkness there, then more light can enter through. And does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Wow, that's really cool. All right, and then lastly, do you have a song or two or three or a favorite piece of music that just resonates with your soul?
So I have this one song that makes me happy, like never fails. I could be in any mood. And if you play the song Emotions by Mariah Carey, that old one that's, I think it's 95 or 93, just 90s Mariah Carey, actually. Anything will just bring me to the surface. I love it. You know that song, Jeff?
I do. I won't pretend to try to sing it for you because she's too good. But you, my dear, when you go to music school, you better pull that out, and that will be your showcase piece.
Oh, yes. There we go. Yes.
All right.
Make a cool remix to it.
There you go. Oh, my gosh. What a great conversation. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us as we had a fabulous conversation with Samantha Garcia, one of our favorite humans on the planet. This has been CSUN Performance Ensemble Presents a Conversation with. My name is Jefferson Denim.
And my name is Fernando Martinez.
And we want to leave you with a quote of our own. We usually leave you with this quote: "To be one's self and unafraid, whether right or wrong, is more admirable than the easy cowardice of surrender to conformity." That's from Irving Wallace. So thank you so much for being with us. And we'll look forward to seeing, and Samantha, thank you for being with us. So we'll look forward to seeing you all at the next episode. Have a great week. Stay safe out there.